Finally, a performance from Chelsea that we can be proud of. Finally, the team give us something to smile about. A 12:30 kickoff and 3 points in the bag before anyone else has kicked off. Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, as always, please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And also, the latest episode of the podcast is out. You can watch the video right here. If you haven't done so already, make sure you click on that link after this one and make sure you go and give us some thoughts on our latest episode where we talk about our form of April. Theo gives us a lowdown about Brazil and many, many more things discussed in that podcast. So make sure you go over there after this one. But Everton 0, Chelsea 1, Stamford Bridge finally sees a really good performance from Chelsea. And we have to be honest, it was a superb performance. I'm going to be honest. I think the lineup was spot on. I really do. If you listen back to the episode from yesterday, you'll hear me talk about Nkunku needs to play. I woke up this morning and realization kicked in. I was talking nonsense yesterday. Yeah, I don't know why I said Nkunku, but I went with Nicholas Jackson in my predicted lineup before, ahead of kickoff. Again, go over to the socials. You'll see all our predicted lineups on there as well. But Nicholas Jackson, the goal scorer. First goal in about 13 games, his first one of 2025. He has been out injured, but he put in a good performance today. You got to see exactly why we need to keep a bit of trust in Nicholas Jackson. I still think we need the number 9. That's 100% guaranteed. We need a proven goal scorer, and that isn't Nicholas Jackson, but he's showing signs of what he can do. You know, I said yesterday on the podcast, he gets into the right areas of the pitch. He makes those critical runs. He holds the ball up very well. He's very instinctive as well. Even the goal that was ruled offside, yes, he was offside, but he's first to the ball, and he's got to keep doing that. Keep doing those things, and I'm sure eventually we'll see why we need Nicholas Jackson in the team. We really do. I think he's just such a really good player. You know, I think he is. I think the striking, the goal scoring has to be a bit more calmer in front of goal, which will come. But, you know, I thought he played really well. He put in a really good performance. I think we have to credit Everton as well, because as much as they didn't have a shot on target, they didn't have, I think they only had 1 corner, maybe 2 corners in the game. They had 3 shots overall. They didn't have 1 in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. And they had 2 corners. They still looked a threat throughout that game. It wasn't like a game where we dominated, and you know, they still had quite a lot. I think 46% possession of the ball. Their 3 chances that were on target, well saved from Robert Sanchez, and we have to credit him. He was my man in the match today, alongside Trevor Chalobah. But this is a manager now that, for me, has to be very critical about who he's selecting in the next couple of games. It has to be, for me, the lineup that Maresca went with today. I feel like it was actually the right one. I feel like he almost realized he's going to come up against a very physical, tall team, and he had to change things. And I thought Caicedo playing right back worked today. Trevor Chalobah in the centre half position with Levi Colwill, Marco Correa, Lavia back in the team. Something I didn't see coming yesterday, but he come on. He played really well. You know, he got 67 minutes under his belt. Potentially we'll see him in the next couple of Premier League games as well. Palmer, 10, which again surprised me. Noni Madueke on the left and Pedro Neto on the right with Jackson as a striker. I'm going to be honest, I think this is probably Robert Sanchez's best game for us. And this is the Robert Sanchez we need to see week in, week out. Now, maybe the fact that there's been conversations and media outlets have been reporting that we are being linked with other goalkeepers, and Petrovic again is due to come back to the club next season. Maybe something has sparked something in Sanchez, but we need to see that Sanchez every single weekend. Now, he did have his faults in that game. I thought the situation with Mykolenko could have been avoided. Caicedo's there. Caicedo's well equipped and got the quality to deal with that ball with Mykolenko. Decision making for Sanchez, I think for me, is just something that worries me when I think if we come up against, Liverpool, City, a top team, they'll punish you. After today's game, there's certain things that we do defensively that we get away with because it's Everton, and Beto wasn't really getting the service. But when you come up against a good team, you can't really afford to just rush out like Sanchez did today a couple of times. And apart from that, everything else he done was spot on. Looked very comfortable playing out from the back today. Some of the balls were long balls as well, so he wasn't just trying to play out from the back. The 2 saves he made, I think one of them was the Dwight McNeil, and I think the Beto one as well. perfect saves. The Dwight McNeil one is actually even harder because he's going away from goal. He's going the other direction, and he has to readjust himself very quickly to then make that save. And for me, this is what we need from our goalkeeper. Confidence in between the sticks. It brings a sense of calmness then to someone like Levi Colwill, Trevor Chalobah, who outstanding performance from him. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But Sanchez has to do that every single game. It's frustrating watching the Sanchez that we've seen, the best part of this year so far. For him to then pull out a performance like he did today, it shows he's got it in his locker. And that for me is the frustration that as Chelsea fans, we're not seeing him do that on a regular basis. That's the frustration for me. But let's talk about Trevor Chalobah, a player that is clearly our best centre-back at the club right now. People will talk about Wesley Fofana injured again. They talk about Levi Colwill. For me, he's got a lot more mistakes in him than Chalobah. Badia Shiel, wouldn't say he's top centre-back at Chelsea. This Trevor Chalobah, Cobham graduate, Cobham through and through. We can't afford to lose him in the summer. I don't care whether someone comes and slaps £50 million for him. We have to keep him at the club next season. Trevor Chalobah understands what it means to play for that football club. And I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I hardly see him put a foot wrong. I hardly see him put a foot wrong in games. Cool, calm, collective on the ball, right position every single time. We can't afford to lose Trevor Chalobah. Because whoever we bring in, if we bring in another centre-back, that's the partner he's going to be playing with, Trevor Chalobah. He has to play with him. He's so calm. And even with a makeshift right-back as Caicedo, who was inverting and dropping into that midfield quite a bit, he was able to cover, to play the three centre-backs when we've got possession of the ball. He does that right-back role so well, Trevor Chalobah. So we can't lose him. We just can't lose him. Like I said, good to see Lavia back in the team, coming back from an injury. Let's hope we can keep him fit for the remainder of the games this season. Neto again. Neto for me, the fact that we've kept him so injury-free for this long, if you think back to his time at Wolves, he was constantly getting injured. And that was one of the things that when we signed him, we said, if we can keep him fit, we're going to get a player. We've got that player now. We can see that Neto, the pace on him, the turning direction, the feet, the quickness of the movement, is everything we need in this wider areas. The only downside, I think, for me, from even Neto and Madueke today, was that you'd love to see your fullbacks overlapping and supporting those attacking phases of the game. And we just didn't see that today. We didn't see Cucurella getting forward as much. Obviously, Trevor Chalobah wasn't doing it whilst he was there. Reece James then came on. Caicedo dropped into the midfield. And even that, you saw the shift. You saw how well Caicedo breaks up the play in that midfield. He's just, I'm telling you from now, I've said it on here, and people are going to probably slate me for saying this, but I said a couple of weeks ago, or even last week, I don't think we've got the squad to compete in the Champions League. I think we've got a group of players that needs a couple of additions to it for us to compete in that Champions League. Because you can see Caicedo is one of those players. Cucurella is one of those players. Cole Palmer, for me, I'm going to be honest, I feel like Cole Palmer needs to be, he took a knock today, so potentially he might not see him in the midweek game anyway, in the Conference League, but he's got to do better. He has to do better. We praised him when he was doing well, and today we got to see another really mediocre performance. I don't want to say it was a poor performance, but it wasn't the Cole Palmer of last season. He's getting the ball and he's almost just trying to find that pass too quickly. Like there was a moment when Neto was running down the right wing second half, and then before you know it, the ball's played to him too early. So we have to get Cole Palmer back to the place that he was before something switched off in his game. Because I think for me, Cole Palmer is one of those players that when it clicks for him, eventually it will. We're going to get a player in out of him again. We know that. But if I'm being critical, I feel like that front four, with Jackson included, with the three of Madueke and Neto, I think Cole Palmer was the quietest out of the three of them. And then obviously Jackson getting that goal. But we got to get more out of him. We got to get more out of him. For me, do you look at Nkunku? I spoke about him yesterday on the podcast. Do you maybe bring him into that role as a 10 and give him an opportunity? Or do you look at someone else? You maybe bring Enzo forward. Do you bring Keenan Dewsbury Hall back into the fold? I just don't see... And I know Cole Palmer's gone in his locker. He can just change a game with the flick of a switch, but he hasn't done that now for X amount of games. And these games, if people want us to see us in the Champions League and we need to finish as high up in the league as possible, we're going to need everyone pulling out the stops like they did, or a selection of the team did today. We're going to have to see Sanchez doing those amazing saves. We're going to have to see Caicedo putting in those performances, Enzo Fernandez putting in those performances like he did today, Nicholas Jackson taking those chances like he did today. We're going to have to see that for the next 5 or 6 games this season. We're going to have to. And Cole Palmer has to be part of that group. So it's a big dilemma for Maresca. Does he drop Cole Palmer? I personally think he's either playing through an injury or he's just not in the form. And if he's not in the form, he has to be benched. If this was Nkunku, or if this was Nicholas Jackson, or if this was any other player, we would all be saying he has to be dropped. Cole Palmer cannot be exempt from that criticism. Now, I'm not saying he played poorly today, but if you look at the last 4 or 5 games, he ain't been the Cole Palmer that was Cole Palmer in last season. So we have to see how that pans out. But credit to Everton. They did try. They failed. We keep our record against Everton in good stead for now. We are 4th in the table. Let's add that into it as well. We've got 3 wins out of our last 5. We have Liverpool up next in the Premier League. Now, of course, Liverpool, hopefully by then, will be Premier League champions. So that means that hopefully they'll be in party mode. We can get 3 points off them. It's going to be a difficult game, but we've got to try. And it's at Stamford Bridge. So we've got to try. But credit to the boys, credit to the players, credit to Enzo Maresca for picking the lineup, or Willy Caballero, whoever picked it out, the 2 of them. But that was the lineup that realistically made sense when you think back in hindsight now that the game's completed. We have to continue in that form. Every game now is a cup final. We've got to win all of them. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave your thoughts below. Hit the Linktree link in the description. And we'll be back soon with another video.